beneficial not just to us, but to our children's 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 children. If the things that we are doing cannot reach 150 years into the future and affect the next 7 generations, then we're wasting our time. And that is what we need to understand. That is what we knew when we were on top of our game. That is what we knew, and that is what we did when we controlled the world. We don't live for ourselves. We live for those who have not been born. That is our true purpose for being. And so on this night that's dedicated to Nia on purpose, I want to talk about what our purpose should be, how we moved away from our purposes, and what our purpose should be specifically if we are going to thrive in post-Ferguson United States. Well, because as you all know, times have changed. Southeast looks a whole lot different today than it did 28 years ago. DC ain't Chocolate City no more, is it? It's Latte Land, And before you know it, we'll need passes to come into the city. That's the direction that this whole country is moving in. Not just DC, but this whole country. And so we need to begin to prepare our children for what our great-grandparents had to deal with, because that's where we're going. When white folks say they want their country back, they mean they want it to be back to prior to 1954, when we were in our place and they were in control of everything. That's what they want. And they will get that if we don't understand who we are and the things that we must be doing now in order to regain control of ourselves and then ultimately regain control of the world. So I want to talk about this idea, this concept that the United Negro College Fund has used as their tagline for so many years. They said that a mind is a terrible thing to waste, but I want it to be very clear that a brain is a terrible thing to waste. I want you all to understand the power of the brain. Your brain, our brain, processes 400 billion bits of information every single second. 400 billion bits of information come into your brain every single second. Seen by your eyes, your ears, your fingers, every part of your body receives information about everything around you, but we are only conscious of processing 2,000 bits of information per second. So that means there's much more going on around us than we are aware of. So it's about us beginning to tap into this resource that we have within us, our brains, and learning how to cultivate our brains so that we can begin to fulfill our purpose for being. So it's been said that the average person uses less than 5% of their brain. Have you all ever heard that expression? Yeah. Think about that. The average person uses less than 5% of their brain. Now imagine you are an employer. Right? You have a business, and your employees only come to work 5% of the time. How long are you going to be in business? Why should we be satisfied using less than 5% of our God-given potential? That's an abomination. It's unconscionable. So once you begin to understand how little we are doing and begin to find ways or cultivate ways to use more of your abilities, it changes everything. You become conscious of things that you never knew existed before, and you see everything differently. I've been focusing a lot of my attention over the last 30-some-odd years traveling to Africa, studying what I was never taught in school, what I was never taught at Howard University, what I was never taught at my elementary schools and high schools in Chicago, and realize there's another world of information that we are not privy to. And if we became conscious of that information, it would change everything about us. So as a result of my traveling to Africa, and the bio that the sister read is a little old, my daughter is 32 years old, I've been to Egypt 50 times over the last 34 years. And through these travels, I've seen things, I've learned things, and I would like to think that I've developed maybe 12, 13% of my brain. And now know much more than I ever thought I would, but I also know that there's so much more that I need to know. So much more that I am going to learn. But as was mentioned in my introduction, I've written a number of books, historical books. I know African history frontwards and backwards. But now I reached a point in my life, after 63 years on earth, I reached a point in my life where I began to see myself as less of a historian and more as a memory recovery specialist. Because I understand that the memory of our people has been erased. We don't know who we are. And we move through life like we are people who don't know who we are. We don't know where we came from. We don't know the potential that we have as men or women. And so we allow others who are less than us use us and manipulate us to their advantage, to our constant disadvantage. And then we cry crocodile tears because we're not doing the things, we're not doing as well as everybody else is. What kind of sense does that make? What kind of sense does that make? And so what I know, or what I've come to understand, is the job that has been done on us to make us, as Brother Melvin Deal said, to make us ashamed to be African. Ashamed to be who we are and try to be like everybody else, who we can never be. Who we can never be. God made us with the hair that we used to have. God made us with the skin complexions that we have, the noses that we have, the lips that we have. Who are we to change God's creation? So someone has gotten into our heads and separate us from God. So now we want to be like everybody else but ourselves because our memories have been erased. What does it seem like? How does it feel to have your memory erased? Have you all ever lost your car keys? Now I feel when you lose your car keys. Well, the thing about it is, you lose your car keys, you can always get another key made, right? You can always get another key made. So losing your memory is worse than that. You ever lost your cell phone? This little computer that we carry around in our pockets? Telephone numbers and pictures and data, emails, all that stuff. You lose the cell phone, you can always get the information retrieved, right? Right. But if you ever lose your hard drive on your computer, I lost the hard drive on my computer crashed this past June. And I've got 15, 16 years of information, thousands of pictures, and I was lost.
Oh, man.
I was lost. And then a friend of mine said, well, Tony, you know, you can take your computer to a data recovery place, and they will recover your data. Now, it's expensive, but they would do it. And so I took my hard drive over to this place in Virginia, and the guy said, well, yes, we can take your computer, your hard drive into a clean room, dismantle the hard drive, because when you erase a file on your hard drive, it's not really erased. It's always there. What you do is erase the address to access that information, but the information is always there. So what they did was to reconstruct the whole archive of all of my data and put it on a portable drive. It cost me about $1,300. And the lesson learned is always back up your material. Always back up, but I got my information back. And so the thing is, if we understand how the brain functions, this wonderful instrument that is the brain, how the brain functions, I want us to know and be very clear about the fact that everything that you've ever seen, everything that you've ever done, everything you've ever said from when you were in your mother's womb until the moment you stepped into this church and sit down in this chair, all of that information is recorded in your brain. That's right. All of that